This is the first time we've had a race on Sunday to recap, but a race coming up the following weekend to talk about, and there is plenty to dive into as we inch ever closer to the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500.
Hello, Kyle.
Yeah, I had a great weekend down in Miami. I guess I'm with you. I don't really want to dive too deep into it because it is May and I'm kind of in Indy 500 mode, but I was down there giving tours to guests and suites, giving paddock tours and like track tours on a truck, doing a lap of the track. It was actually pretty cool. I met some people, like some really cool people. I met a guy who told me his dad was from Kokomo and that he was going to the 500 in 2 weeks. So hopefully I'll be seeing that guy. That was pretty cool.
Did that guy know that the Indy GP exists?
Oh, I should have asked him. I should. That actually is a great question to be asking. But he was in space. Him and his wife were in full Haas gear, and so they were definitely on the right side, being in the F1 paddock. It was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, let's go down the celebrities I saw, because that's like one of the interesting parts, right?
Yeah, I don't care about the race. Tell us about the paddock.
I saw DJ Khaled. I saw
another one.
Michael Strahan.
He's going to be at the Indy 500.
Yeah. I saw
Michael
the pace car driver
knows about the GP.
Yeah, no. Michael Strahan has no idea what the Sonoso Grand Prix in Indianapolis is. If you told him that, he'd go, "Is that Formula One race?"
But I saw the Indy 500 pace car driver at the damn F1 race. That's crazy. Andrew Schultz. I was like pretty.
Who's that?
I was walking by. He's a comedian.
Oh.
If you saw a picture of him, you would recognize him. The guy with the mustache. Comedian.
Is that Sean Gillis?
But in more interesting terms, I saw Jackie Stewart a bunch. I saw Mario was there. Danica was around quite a lot. Jensen Button, the paddock's cool. I mean, it definitely makes you think a lot, right? And yeah, I definitely when I'm working there, I definitely walk around and think of, like, pinch myself of just like, damn it, like, this is cool. Like, it definitely like kind of changes your head around and makes you realize that, like, yeah, when they say that this is like the pinnacle of motorsports, like the amount of money and effort that goes into, like, just like, forget about the cars on the racetrack, like the amount of effort into the suites, and just because I'm on the back side of it, right, watching all the people bring people from the suites into do things with them to make their stay and their money spent worth it. Like, seeing that end of it is definitely a unique thing to see, and it's just, yeah, it's crazy.
Well, here I am crying about Legos being inside of stores for IndyCar. And Kyle, did you see the F1 Lego cars get paraded around pre-race?
I did.
They raced them.
I did.
No, hang on, that wasn't a parade. They raced those cars.
Yeah.
That was some of the best content I've ever seen. The best content I've ever seen. Sorry, Kyle.
Well, it was definitely better than what they normally do, right? Because I saw the Lego F1 cars before they, like when they had them under the canopy, like before they got crashed. And so normally what they do, which is part of like what I do, is they have those semi trucks, like you might have seen in Drive to Survive. If you've seen the clip of Ricardo doing the Hulkenberg thing when they're on that truck, that's normally what they do with the Drive Parade. They normally put them all in a semi, and so one of my jobs is there's like 7 semis that follow the driver one, and I'm standing at the front with a microphone with a semi full of guests, kind of like telling them about the circuit, telling them about F1, telling them about things. So like normally that's what we do, and that's what I expected to have happen. But instead, the drivers went and wrecked each other with Lego F1 cars, and then our trucks kind of followed that. So I didn't see much of it in person, but it was that was so cool. That was really, I wish they'd do that every race.
Well, the chat's already hopping. David, we want to make sure your headset mic is on. Let's see. Sounds like you're across the room. David, adjust the mic and check your input. A lot of things going on.
Hello.
Time for the best 50 days of racing. Sky's in here. Sam, hello. I can hear you fine. Yeah. Hey, David, tell us about that hat you got on. And do I see a trading card behind you?
Yeah, but that's not the one you gave me today. I did find the Michael Greenfield card. That's Alfred. That's Alfred Unser there. But
I saw his wife at Speedway today. She was getting Marlboros, so they stayed loyal to the brand after all these years.
Jesus. On that note, What was the question? Oh, my hat. Hey, the hat's a teaser. It's also a plug. Go check out the 95 Indy 500 merch over on the shop. There's a whole bunch of stuff on the shop, isn't there, Tony? Whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, shopindy.com. Check it out. They're going to hop on board with us here throughout the month of May, so you'll see us decked out in some gear, and we'll have some fun with them. David, I know you have a video coming out about the 1995 Indianapolis 500, so we look forward to that on your YouTube channel. All right, we do have a race to recap on Sunday. I spent the morning with Alex Palou today, actually. He wins the race. Kind of Rinus VeeKay seemed to maybe save the day by having that fourth place run, and Rinus told me, well, we almost lost it because my back right tire changer lost the nut twice and luckily saved it. And supposedly his back right tire changer is also his PR guy. He told me this morning. And then Marcus Ericsson said, well, why don't you just hire Tony to do that? And then, but another Alex Palou victory we kind of knew going in. It was probably the most obvious answer of the weekend. Could anybody knock him off? That was not to be seen. Good run by Nolan Siegel, but Rinus VeeKay kind of was the story, I thought, of the final 30% of that race. Boys, your thoughts on what we saw in Barber on Sunday?
Oh, boy. Well, I feel like I went on an absolute heater yesterday talking about it. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because, like, I feel like we're only noticing it now, but the road racing has been pretty tough for a long time, even pre-hybrid. Obviously, IndyCar is going to try and change that with more pit stops at the Indy GP. It was Alex.
Which isn't going to do anything. We'll get into it.
Well, Tony said it, so I didn't have to. But the Alex Palou beatdown is on its face is not the worst thing in the world. I don't think. I mean, yes, from an entertainment standpoint, you always want to have a battle for the win, but the one time we've had a battle for the win this year, people complained about it, so I don't really know what people want. But I think what we've really noticed is either Fox isn't showing, and Fox has improved quite a bit, but either Fox isn't showing the battles on the racetrack or the battles on the racetrack ain't happening. And the race just, for whatever reason, it didn't seem like it was all that entertaining on TV. The good news is, because it was such a fast race, because it was under the green flag, the TV rating came out today, and it wasn't a drop for the first time since St. Pete of this year. 900,000 people tuned in on television. They avoided, kind of by happenstance, but they managed to avoid NASCAR and Formula One, and lo and behold, the IndyCar rating goes right back up. I suppose I'll say this before we kind of get more into the nitty-gritty about the race. It's pretty obvious right now that IndyCar is a choice that people are making. The problem is right now it's the second choice. We got to find a way to get this series to be people's first choice for entertainment on a Sunday, not choice number 2.
For those watching at home, Pacers on a 10-2 run. They've cut it to 6, so turn it on, put it on mute, watch us here on Unverified. I'm with you. Look, and we're going to talk about the tire situation. It helps IndyCar when you're not going up against major events, and we talked about the NCAA final or the NCAA tournament and the Masters. There was a pretty good rating for the beatdown that we saw, and Alex Palou had said to me this morning, he goes, "Was that pretty boring?" I said, "Yeah, but you don't give a shit. You don't care." He goes, "Well, I kind of do. I kind of don't when I win those races." And I said, "Yeah, that's what I thought." So, look. The 2 series involved in IndyCar, Indy and Indy Next, are being absolutely dominated by 2 drivers. There's a doubleheader for Indy Next coming up this weekend at IMS. Kyle, I don't know how much you saw of the IndyCar race, but again, it was kind of what we all predicted and thought was going to happen, and that was a Palou beatdown.
Yeah, I watched the highlights when I got back, and the highlights were pretty entertaining, actually. It's kind of a race that I'm glad I saw via highlights, honestly, from what I've heard about it. And I watched David's video yesterday, and it's kind of, I kind of share the same sentiment, and think that the ideas he gave out at the end were pretty smart. And I would love to hear, a reasoning on like why we couldn't do a hybrid and non-hybrid like mixed formula, right? Because I'm sure there's a reason that's not possible, or someone could give a reason. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that the viewership went up. I would love to see another race get over 1 million. I don't know if anyone else saw, but like obviously the Miami Grand Prix got 2.1 million. And it's like every time they come to the U.S., you know, they dwarf us, and it's kind of sad, but it makes sense in all reality. But you know, yeah, I
Xfinity
mean,
on the CW did over 1 million as well.
See, like it's just when it's under 1 million, that's when it's really just like makes you kind of just sad. But I think we can get there.
Yeah, I was on with David, kind of watching his YouTube stream, watching it, and it was like, you know, you couldn't have. There were drivers that were in the top 5 that couldn't pass lap cars. I mean, Marcus Ericsson was 18th, holding off some of the leaders. Christian Lundgaard with the broken front end. You know, so that obviously that's an issue, right? And it's going to continue to be an issue coming up this weekend at the Indy GP, because look how spread out that race has gotten over the last couple of years. Whether it's been Palou dominating it last year, and then I believe 2 years prior as well. Dixon dominated this race in 2020 during the COVID season. And look, the average viewer tuning in is going to look at this and say, "Oh, the leader's got a 12-second lead. What do I don't, this isn't compelling. This isn't drama. There's no storyline here. I'm going to turn on to something else." And look, I'm a big fan of Alex Palou and the historical run that he is on and what he's been able to do, and it's incredible. I mean, it really is. Does it suck because, you know, yeah, I said today, I said, man, what's up with you, dude? You finished second at Long Beach. What's up with that? But it's like he's on a historical run, so a part of me is like, yeah, I love this. This is crazy to think about what he's doing. But on the flip side, it's like it's not doing IndyCar any favors. So it's a rock and a hard place situation. I thought the number 914,000 was great. I thought it was great. I thought it was going to be lower than that. Fortunately for IndyCar, it wasn't. They're building momentum. New IndyCar cards are out. They're going to be at Target on May 15th. You know, there's different shirts. I think I sent Kyle, and I believe Kyle, your girlfriend, pointed it out. Like, there's shirts inside of Hollister and Old Navy, and they so as much as we do sometimes shit on them, we also have to give them credit where credit's due. And it does feel like we're going to get the Dude Bro sources. Trust me on this. I'm going to give you some hints and some teasers on some things you're going to see in the month of May, some that I'm involved in, some that I'm not. And it is like, okay, and maybe it's because it's May, but it's like, yes, we are moving forward and the wheels are turning. We're not sputtering. Just don't shoot yourself in the foot any more than what you already have.
The one thing about, you know, the Palou dominance, that's great. And I am also a fan of Palou. And I love seeing greatness. It's like you have to appreciate in the moment what you're witnessing has never been done before.
Yes.
But what this sets up as well, you know, to look to the future, is you now have a guy who seems unbeatable, and when he does get beaten, it's gonna feel, you know, a lot bigger when it happens, right? And you know, there could be moments where Palou's leading and someone sends it in, and things happen that make for bigger moments. And I mean, and we know this series, and even though the racing's not great, it's hard to pass. Hybrid sucks. We can talk about that all day long, but at the end of the day, in this series, we're going to go to ovals. We're going to go to a bunch of different tracks where I feel like momentum is still going to move forward. And I think it's probably the perfect time now that it's May, like you said, Tony, to start, right?
David? The perfect place to, you know, build momentum, like Tony said. I mean, I think the point about Alex Palou, I mean, I feel like I've said it, beat it to death at this point on Twitter and YouTube, but like Alex Palou does not deserve any blame for your dissatisfaction with IndyCar right now. You know, start with the other 26 teams, and then, you know, go to the marketing department next, and, you know, Fox, and, you know, there's so many, the technical regulations committee, like all of those factors are why we're seeing what we're seeing. Alex Palou is just taking the situation that he's got, and he's doing it better than everybody else. The Indy GP, Tony, I want to say this, but my body's trying to make me not say this. You
okay over there, buddy?
No, because it's trying to make me not get thrown off the pagoda for saying this. Tony, the Indy GP has never been a good race. Let's just get this out of the way right away. It's never.
Only when it rains.
Only when it rains. But that's, and I was doing the rain dance because it looked like it was going to rain this weekend. And then all the weather forecasters on Twitter were like, oh, it's going to be perfect weather. And it's, I guess it's 70 degrees and sunny. Well, it's great for, if you want to sit out and grill. But if you want to watch some racing, that's going to be tough. Couple of other points I wanted to make about Barber is the dynamics that we're beginning to see at Arrow McLaren, I think, are extremely interesting. How about that block Nolan Siegel threw on Christian Lundgaard coming down the front straightaway early in the race? Huh? Well, that was pretty spicy. And I think on the subject of Christian Lundgaard, he's pretty well had Pato O'Ward beat this year in terms of the teammate battle. So I'm kind of curious to see. I think I made a comparison of Prost and Senna a couple of episodes ago. Now they're not winning like Prost and Senna did in 1988.
It's insane behavior.
What?
That comparison, that's insane. But okay.
Continue. Well, what teammates in IndyCar have crashed into each other with the ferocity and amount that Prost and Senna did? And by the way, they were also driving for McLaren at that point.
I don't think we've gotten to that level yet, but I get your point. Continue.
Okay. So the difference in the difficulty with that comparison is this: nobody is winning in IndyCar except for Kyle Kirkwood. By the way, guys, Pallou's already been beat this year. Like, are we just forgetting that? Until the McLaren drivers, until we get O'Ward, Pato, and Lundgaard actually racing for the win together and racing hard, we're really not going to know whether that relationship ends up. But again, I thought the Nolan block on a teammate was pretty wild.
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of those where you let him race. And speaking of Lundgaard, we've talked about it, and the three of us in one of our first episodes preseason talked about how this guy has a chance, and he's outran Pato. And he's going to his best track. I know he has a win at Toronto, but he is going to his best track historically. I think his last four finishes are second, third, fourth, and fourth at the Indy GP. The McLaren car is pretty fast at the Indy road course. I think he is the front runner. If you said right now who's going to knock off Palou at the Indy GP, I'm going to go Christian Lundgaard as contender number one to do that coming up this weekend. But yeah. I thought, the block was wild, but I think Nolan is. I'm not going to say feeling the pressure, but it's like, hey, when's Nolan going to step up and perform? When's Nolan going to go elbows out? When's Nolan going to be? I'm not expecting him to be on the level of Pato right away or the level of Lundgaard, even though Lundgaard's had really good success to start the season. But with Nolan Siegel, it's like, okay. You're kind of on a warm seat right now. Kanaan brought you in a year ago after the 500. We're about We're about 300 days into this McLaren experience for Nolan Siegel, and he did have a good run. Qualified top 6, finished top 10. You got to give him credit for that. But I think Nolan's like, all right, I got to show that I can race with my teammates and hold my own out there.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who's 20th in points right now, so like he's got to be feeling the pressure, especially when one of your teammates has been on the podium, damn near every race this season, and a guy like Pato as well. First race out qualifying both your teammates and making it to the Fast 6. Still got a top 10, but obviously finished behind both Christian and Pato. I mean, he's got to be feeling the pressure at 20th in the points racing for McLaren, right?
Lundgaard needs to qualify better. I think he would win races if he qualified better. That's crazy. Yeah,
crazy because he is known for being a good qualifier, right? When he was with Rahal, it was those all season last year. It was magical Fast 6 appearances, and then in the race, it was this is going into the GP. This is a guy last year who had this race won, if not for a few getting beat in the pits by Palou. You watch that race back, Lundgaard wins the race if he's a little bit quicker leaving the pit box, right? It was nothing on track he really did. He just lost time through strategy. In the Indy GP historically is his best track, right? But yeah, it's crazy because that was his thing at Rahal, was Fast 6 appearances and qualifying well.
Ooh, here's a question. How strong will the Rahal team be this weekend without Christian Lundgaard?
That's a fantastic question.
Yeah, I think, remind me, I have another question for you guys a little bit later on when it comes to the 500. No, that's going to be interesting, right? Because Graham was on the pole here, two summers ago in the second race. I believe he had a podium in that race as well.
Should have won.
I think we're really going to see how much things Lundgaard covered up, not only for Ray Hall at the GP, but also at the 500. I mean, this is the guy that did not qualify because I don't think that car had speed to qualify. Lundgaard probably got the most out of that thing for Indianapolis 500 qualifying, but did a good job of methodically working his way up through the field in his first 2 starts at the Indianapolis 500. So, yeah, we're really going to see where is Ray Hall, where do they stand really over the next 3 weekends. And, I mean, I think for them the goal is to get all 4 cars, rebuilding Sato's Indianapolis 500 car, bringing Devlin DeFrancesco back, who's been good at the road course. He's not been Christian Lundgaard good at the road course, but he has been. I would say that the IMS road course is one of his best tracks. So maybe he's fighting for a top 12 starting position. I could see that. We'll see where Graham is, but we're really gonna know. Okay, they brought in Jay Fry. Graham comes on my timeline, as we talked about last week, saying that he could be a dark horse for the 500. Well, we're going to find out. Okay. The jury's going to be out over the next 3 weekends. And really, I think when, we get to qualifying next Fast Friday, we're going to know really where they stand as far as, and there's a lot of momentum, as we know, guys, that can be built not only last weekend at Barber, but this weekend at IMS road course. Kind of hit the reset button. I talked to Marcus Ericsson about that today. It's like we're hitting the reset button. Let's see what we can do over the next couple of weeks. I think that's the camp that Ray Hall's in right now.
I mean, like you said, Graham had a pole 2 summers ago, but we forget Devlin as well. His biggest shining moment in IndyCar was taking the lead on lap 1 at this place, right? So, and for Louis, this seems to be a track where rookies shine. So, there's a lot of promise, I would say.
Somebody said Sato test proved that RL has speed. Yeah, but remember last year Sato started 12th, and everybody else was towards the back. So. Again, for me with Ray Hall over the next couple of weeks, prove it to me. I asked to have Graham on my podcast. We'll see. I'll have Colin Milot on at the end of the week too, but we shall see. All right, do we want to jump into some Dude Bro sources, guys?
Sure. Let's hit us with it, Tony.
Well, there's a lot to discuss. We are almost finalized. A couple of banners around town have gone up. We're going to do a Michelob Ultra Marcus Ericsson deal. Michelob Ultra is going to be a part of this show here over the next couple of weeks. Looking forward to that. I know Kyle and I are Michelob Ultra drinkers.
I like Michelob Ultra.
David will be drinking some Michelob Ultra Zeros because David doesn't drink, which is totally fine. It means I always have a DD, which is great.
I love that role. I've never regretted that role ever in my life, Tony.
I only tried to lock you in a Taco Bell bathroom when I was drunk one time. It's okay. With that being said, there are some cool sponsors coming to the Indianapolis 500, and I don't want to overstep some of the things that are coming up this week, but I'll just say this. There is a brand of beer that is very popular in the history of the Indianapolis 500 that is going to be a part of qualifying. I'll just say that. It's going to be on the entry list. And there is a new sponsor coming to the 66 Meyer Shank car that I think you would put in the category of consumer friendly, something that the average consumer can go and buy. And then there's another one which, let me tell you a quick story. I found out last year, early on in the month, that Ken Griffey Jr. was going to drive the pace car, and I wouldn't tell David, but I told him there will be hints. And so I wore a Ken Griffey Jr. hoodie one day, brought in like a Ken Griffey Jr. plaque for my little desk at the media center. So there will be hints, but man, I just think that this Indianapolis 500 is gonna take us higher to the next level, and I can't wait to greet it with arms wide open. It's gonna be absolutely fantastic.
I said this to Kyle in the parking lot at the museum today because we were kind of talking about month of May things, and I said, what an incredible contrast between the beginning of the season with the sponsors and the names that we've seen on the side of the cars to the Indianapolis 500, which again, there's a few major sponsors that have yet to be announced. Things that people can go to Target and buy when they buy their Parkside IndyCar cards. You know, you could the Indy 500 entry list has enough consumer-based sponsors that you might actually be able to fill, maybe not a shopping cart at Target, but certainly one of those shopping baskets at Target. And when we talk about that comparison, we talk about the connection to the average fan, the average bear just showing up to crush some beers and watch a race and don't really know anything about anything. They might actually connect with a driver who has a sponsor, perhaps of the beer that they're drinking, or the motor oil that they use, or whatever. That, I think, is a really positive sign for the Indianapolis 500. You know, you think back to the glory days, which I guess we consider the 90s now. You know, the generation before us probably considered it the 60s. But if you look at the 90s, it was all consumer-based sponsors, things that people recognized, things that people knew, things that people could support. And if they supported those items in their household, they were more likely to support the driver that was associated with those brands. So it's so weird, and I understand why, but it is so weird that this 500 in particular has so many powerhouse sponsors that we're probably not going to see the entire rest of the year.
Well, so it's nice of Marcus Ericsson to run lime green, black, and white to salute my podcast this weekend. I think he'll be running some colors for the 500 that I think David Land will be very, very happy about. But I think, you know, Fox is this marketing push they've had on the 500. Look, everything that I've been told, and I'm sure, David, you've heard a lot of the same things. It's as close to a sellout as you can possibly get. I think IMS is prepping this for a sellout. You know, there's a few things. I mean, for those that don't know my radio's background here, I worked at 1070 The Fan, ESPN Radio, WIBC for 10 years, and they would always sell the advertisements for the race as the only place to hear the race live, because obviously the blackout, and then everybody would go home and kind of watch the replay of it later on in the evening. With that being said, so there's a few things you have to take care of there, but I think this is going to be a sellout. I think it's going to be a lifting of the blackout, and I think it's going to be positive for Fox to hang a big-ass number up there and push, like, I mean, 3 million? Is that too crazy to think that? I mean, if it's going to be live, you're probably going to gain an extra 150 to 200,000 people, maybe here locally. Maybe that's a little bit too much. But I think that there could be a massive number put up on the – if you've got 2.8 people watching NASCAR at Texas and 1.4 million watching the CW, the Indianapolis 500 should be 2.8 to 3 million plus in the ratings category when we see that. If the blackout is lifted.
It was 5 last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 5.3
Yeah,
I had to look it up because I was like, 3's low.
You want a 6.
3 would be low.
You want a 6.
Yeah. So let's go with the 6. Let's go 6 million as the look.
Yeah, I think you got to be minimum at 6 million. You got to beat NBC, and you got to put up a number that we haven't seen since probably, I think 2005 was the last really big Indy 500 TV rating. Tony, I mean, you and I know the same things. This is going to sell out. I think I'm going to stand on business. It's going to sell out. Do you announce that this weekend and try to boost the crowds at practice and qualifying to try to drum up interest there?
I don't think you announce it this weekend. I don't think it really drums up the excitement for like the GP. Usually when this...
I'm talking about it would drum up interest in practice and qualifying for the 500. You announce it this weekend, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh shit, I can't go to the 500, better go to a practice day, better go to qualifying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, possibly. You know, you obviously have to have the tickets sold. You probably have to make sure that there's a little bit more added security, and God knows what that's going to look like on race day with some of the other rumors that we are hearing throughout the paddock about that. I think maybe like Fast Friday. I think a morning press conference with Mark Miles, Doug Bowles, the head of Fox, saying, hey, we're going to lift the blackout. We're sold out. You can still get tickets on our secondary market, however they want to do it, because you don't want to confuse people, because when you say a sellout, it doesn't mean you can't get into the race, right? There's secondary markets. IMS has a secondary ticket exchange website as well. So even though there are still tickets out there on the secondary market, from the ones that come straight out of IMS, that original first sale, That is sold out. Now, obviously, StubHub ticket places like that will still have tickets for you to be able to go. And when they say sellout, it's gonna have to say sellout of reserved seats. Obviously, general admission, I don't know what the number is on that. You could probably sell as many as you really wanted to, or as many as there is for a demand. But with that being said, when you look at the blackout, lifting that, that's going to be a huge deal. And I think that would drum up some excitement, maybe that Friday morning of Fast Friday.
Solid. I mean, solid logic. I like having a long runway on things. I'm not the biggest fan of announcing things late. So I feel like if we're this close and nobody, I mean, well, we can have this discussion about the GP and why people don't know what the GP is 10 years into its run. But like, maybe that would be a way to get the local TV and radio away from the Pacers and the Fever for this weekend to come out to the Speedway, because I think you and I both know, Tony, that they're not going to do that for this race. They will do it for qualifying in the 500, but I don't know. I think you have to. I like using the entire month. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think it's a great point, because look how condensed this month is, and the three of us have talked about this ad nauseum, and every fan that's watching us and is going to the 500 feels the same way, right? Like, we wait all year for it, and it gets here and it's gone like that, and we all have that post-race depression that Monday after the Indianapolis 500, or that Tuesday after the Indianapolis 500. With that being said, you know, it's an exciting, I think this is going to be an exciting Indianapolis 500, but as you said, how do you bobble that up and get people to watch Detroit, get people to watch St. Louis and Road America coming up? So there is still work to be done, but I do think that the blackout will be lifted, and they have to be careful with the wording of it, right? It has to be that reserved seats are sold out. It has to be, we're lifting the blackout locally, right? You don't want somebody in California or Texas like, what the hell's a black? Like, why is it blacked out? They have to make sure that people know, because you're obviously broadcasting to a worldwide audience, that the blackout is being lifted here just locally in Indianapolis. You don't want somebody thinking like, well, wait a minute, why can't I tune in Milwaukee or Detroit or Orlando, Florida, whatever that case may be.
Tony, you reported this week that Barber will not be in May next year, and based on what I'm looking at here on my May 2026 calendar, the Indianapolis 500 would run on May 31st, the final day of the month. So that would seem to suggest to me that there's a pretty big gap in the schedule next year at the beginning of May. What is going on there?
Well, I think it was kind of hard to work around Easter. I think it was an oddly set up April, so to speak, and you want to obviously work around Easter. I see Barber going back to the last week of April. That's what I have been told by somebody that I think would know. And what was one of the biggest complaints? It's like, okay, so yeah, I guess you'll have an extra weekend in May, so to speak, so everybody can go to your favorite event, Rev, and you can do the mini marathon, and then go to and then is there a week off in between that? Or we go through this every year, right? When the race is on May 24th, it feels like it's a week earlier. When it's on the 31st, it feels like, you know, you got to wait. So there is a gap in that schedule, but you know, maybe they move it. Maybe they move the Indianapolis 500 test to that first week of May. Maybe that's when it is. We'll see.
I mean, I'm looking at a pretty good. You could do the test on Friday and Saturday, and have your party on Sunday. I don't know. I mean, that's May 1st and 2nd, and
Yep.
that would give you a little bit of. I mean, the teams would all be loaded in. They wouldn't have to unload and head back out. You would actually probably have the same amount of time between, or at least close to it, the test this year and the first day of practice for the 500. That's about 2 weeks, it looks like to me, based on this calendar. So you really haven't changed the calendar all that much, but you have a better continuity with the calendar. I mean, we have a million different schedule complaints, and we understand that can be changed this second. But for me, the Indy 500 is kind of a black hole, right? What happened with Barber this week? How many media people who are regulars in this series showed up to Barber on the first week of May? I can tell you it was not that many. And you just can't have that. You just can't have that as a series where you have this black hole that everybody makes essentially their entire yearly salary in 1 month in this sport, because that's just how it works, and then expect everybody to pack up and go down to Alabama and not focus on the Indianapolis 500. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's momentum, right? You have that test that everybody's, as you've mentioned, it's really practice days 1 and 2 for the 500, and we saw the great crowd that we saw in turn 2 and on the mounds, and you're building up the momentum with everything you're doing, from porch parties to autograph sessions to anything involving and promoting the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's 3 weekends in May. And oh, hey, by the way, we got to run down, and it's nothing against Barber. It's a beautiful track. I've been there. But next year, well, are we sure on the date for next year's 500? Because we're getting some May 24th.
It's always the last Sunday in May, isn't it?
Some are saying in the chat is Memorial Day next year is May 25th, and the Indy 500 next year is May 24th of 2026.
Oh, that's weird.
So that would kill a week-long gap. That would obviously move Barber back into April. So we're bad with dates. We're not perfect around here, but
I always thought it was the last Sunday in May. Maybe I'm just wrong about that.
That's what I said in the chat, but I was, I guess, corrected that we haven't had a May 31st 500 since 1986.
Oh, well, yeah, they should probably have at least for your purposes, Kyle, they should probably have a May 31st 500.
Next year's Indianapolis 500 is May 24th. Memorial Day is May 25th. So that would explain the gaps. Thank you. I know. I think Kills Donk Alley had that in the chat. So,
great. We're going to be racing in Detroit in May. Let's go.
Well, I'd rather race in Detroit on May 31st than run Barber on May 4th.
Well, so the calendar.
Although I'm sure you loved all the Star Wars stuff.
That was cool. I wish they would have leaned into that more, actually. But so really so this is not breaking news then, because the schedule's not going to change at all. It's going to be the same distance from Barber to the Indianapolis 500, right? Because we're moving everything a week up. So
but
nothing.
We'll get drivers. We'll get drivers to. It'll allow you to not complain that they're racing somewhere else in May.
But they're racing in Detroit in May.
Okay, well, that's after the 500. It doesn't count. That's after the 500.
Well, if it's like 86 and it gets rained out the whole week, we'll have to move Detroit or something.
I think we're talking a little bit too much about the 2026 500.
Should we talk about the 2025 Indy 500, maybe?
Yeah, maybe we should.
Well, let's talk about this weekend, the Indy GP. There's some media things going on. We'll get to talk to some drivers on, I believe, Friday. Thursday, we're gonna get a non-bullpen, which kind of stinks, but we're gonna see some liveries unveiled. So usually, for those that don't know, this is when, if a livery really hasn't been announced for the 500, it usually comes Thursday of this week or Friday, maybe Monday of next week. But usually by the time you put your garage sign up, which is how I kind of found out today as I roamed through the garages what some of the cars for the 500 are going to look like. I didn't tweet anything out. Like I said, I don't want to ruin any, because they're cool. You guys are going to love them. I didn't want to ruin any team announcements. But then Friday, practice qualifying, Indy Next GP #1 on Friday evening. Alex Palou, the winner of this race last year. I think we already talked a little bit about Christian Lundgaard. Don't spend too much time on the GP if we don't want to. We got some new liveries coming out of the McLaren camp this weekend. Guys, your thoughts. Kyle, we'll start with you on what to expect this weekend, and who are your picks at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Sunseal Grand Prix?
I think I went over most of what earlier on what I expect. Because obviously Palou's in a position now where, someone's got to beat him. And I think Christian Lundgaard's that guy to do it. I think he's been so good at the Indy GP over the last couple of years. And the momentum he has right now, I think that it's just time. I think any pit stop issue last year, obviously he's with a different team, and also he's learned from last year how he lost the race, I think. And he's going to be strong.
Until you prove me otherwise, Alex Palou is going to win this race. I think a big.
By the way,
Yeah.
I am two for two, Long Beach and Barber, in picking the winner. I picked Palou at Barber, by the way. Just want to put that out there.
It's like saying the sun's going to come out tomorrow.
Hey, the
But I
sun's going
still
to come out
picked the
tomorrow,
last.
Tony.
Hey, I got Kyle Kirkwood. I got Palou. I'm 2 in a row right now.
Two for
Going
two
for
race
three.
fans. No,
All right, we'll
Palou's
give
going
it
to
to
win.
you.
Palou's going to win. I'll tell you why Palou's going to win. Because you're increasing the amount of pit stops in the race. You are giving every other team opportunities to screw up. You know what team never screws up in the pits? And even when they do, they finish damn second, like Mid-Ohio last year. It's the 10 crew.
The perfect tens.
That's a great nickname. If they are not using that, they should be.
I tweeted it and got a like out of them. So Colin, everybody over there at Ganassi, take it and run with it. But if you guys make shirts, I get one for free.
It's a great PR team over there. One of the more helpful ones. We like the Ganassi PR folks. I mean, to me, that's going to be the key factor. It's not going to be so much the competition on track that's going to change with all these tire changes, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. But now, the time that you spend in and out of the pits, that is going to be what determines the Indianapolis GP. And, you know, they're trying, but until proven otherwise, it's going to be the best pit crew and the driver that can maximize those tire windows to give the most strategy advantage. And that is Barry Wanzer, Alex Palou, and the perfect tens.
How much is this Fox going to IndyCar and saying, what can we do inside of the rule book to try do something to make this a little bit better than what we've seen over the last couple of weeks?
Tony, that was the first thing that popped into my head when I saw that press release was, oh, Fox is mad that the racing hasn't been all that good. I mean, it's so obvious. And again, you know, we're trying not to, there's a swear jar for hybrid here. Because again, I don't think the hybrid necessarily, well, it is the problem right now, but it doesn't have to always be the problem. You can have the hybrid, but right now the way that it is implemented is clearly not helping the product on the road and street courses. Now on the ovals, particularly those short ovals, we'll wait and see about the Indy 500. But we're going to have some races later on this season that are going to be very competitive and compelling races. But right now, like I said in the video, your lying eyes are not deceiving you. It is bad right now. But this has been a downward trend for a while with this particular machine. You know, you guys hate it when I complain about the chassis, but this is a chassis that was designed in a completely different era of auto racing. And we're trying to put modern things on it, a halo and an aero screen and a super capacitor hybrid. Like, what are we doing? We should have had a new car 7 years ago. Already.
It's a freshman in college right now, or it's a freshman in high school right now.
Well, you want to talk about this chassis? I was graduating college when this car debuted. Kyle, I hesitate to ask how old you were when the DW. Go ahead.
I was 11 years old.
Oh yeah.
Let me ask you guys this. I'd love to know your opinion. If Alex Palou wins the Indy GP this weekend, do we get an excitement level of can he sweep the month like Simon Pagenaud did back in 2019? Or does it kind of kill it like, oh, well, here we go again, and I'm going to go out for pole weekend and see him win the pole, and I'm going to see him win the 500. Oh, Alex Palou. Or does it really boost people to say, can he do it? Is there an excitement level to winning the GP, the pole, and the 500?
Well, to be fair, he's, remember 2023, he damn near did it.
Yeah.
2024, won the GP. So is he not 2 in a row at the GP right now as well?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
I just put that together as well. Yeah. So that would be 3 years running of can he do it this time?
Well, that tells me that Alex Palou's not going to win the Indy 500, but Joseph Newgarden will. Palou probably win the GP. And here's the thing. There's two things I want to say about this. Number one, I am not convinced a car with an H is going to win the Indy 500. If it doesn't have a bow tie on it, I don't trust that it's not going to win the Indy 500, particularly one of those from the Team Penske stable. And I think the one thing I will say about Palou is right now it kind of...
Oh, hold on. I'm so sorry to stop you. The Pacers just won 120 to
No way!
Unbelievable. Tyrese Halliburton. There was a steal from Nimhard. Nimhard gets it to Halliburton with 12 seconds to go. They foul. Tyrese makes the first purposely misses the second and hits a 3 to win it. I know we're a racing show. We're all Pacer fans here.
That's insane.
But that is absolutely incredible.
That's like that Reggie Miller, like 2 threes in 6 seconds or whatever.
And then we play at home next, right?
The next 2 are at home. They can sweep
oh my God.
this weekend. Pacers and Racers, David's favorite thing. If you're not an Indy, you're probably going, who gives a crap? But as somebody who shares the Indianapolis 500 level of passion with the Pacers, Kyle's got his Pacer hat on.
Yep.
Just wanted to get that in.
This is a part of May. Like the first Indy 500 I went to was 2014, and that was a Pacers and Racers year. That was a year where they were in the Eastern Conference Finals on race weekend, which was cool. And I hope it happened last year. I hope it happens again. You know, this is a part of the event. And yeah, if you don't like it, suck it up. This is cool.
All right, so
well, well, then don't complain about the local media not showing up for anything in May. You can't do it.
I don't.
No, I know you don't do it, but somebody else in this call does it. Don't complain when all these guys are, you know, doing their little happy dance around Caitlin Clark and Tyrese Halliburton.
Media, anyways.
Well, some people are a little older on this call than we are, and they really care about Channel 13. Here's the deal.
Are you talking about me?
Yes, 100%. 100%. But here's the deal.
I don't
care.
I know that they love to. You and I have talked to many people that say the same thing about local media, and that's where we stand.
Well, that's true.
I like those guys. There's a lot of people that work in local media, sports-wise, that I've worked with that I like.
They should care more about the race. That's all I'm saying. That's my statement on that. The thing about Alex Palou I want to say is that it sucks right now that he's winning all the time. But there's going to come a tipping point where he's going to win so much that it's historically significant to the point where it's actually kind of cool. Like what if he runs the table and wins 10 or 11 races this year? That's historic. Like, I think AJ Foyt did something similar, but when you're talking about someone doing something that AJ Foyt did before in this era, I don't know. Like, there's a point where the Band-Aid comes off and you're kind of like, this is kind of cool. And to Kyle's point, if he really goes on a run and he only gets beat at the Indy 500 between now and what? I guess I don't know if he could win Gateway, but like, I don't know, Milwaukee? Like, then all of a sudden Milwaukee's like, well, who the hell's going to beat him? You know, I think there is an element to that. I kind of like, it sucks now, but if he's gonna stink the series up, do it in a historic way. Don't just win the first 3 or 4 races of the season and then fall off a cliff towards the end.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, we can call this tire strategy the Palou, the extra pit stop. We'll call it the Palou pit stop. And you know, there's some folks out there that think maybe a playoff should be the Palou playoff system towards the end of the season. But it is an historical run.
I'm going full-time IMSA if that happens.
Yeah, I wanted to get back. You mentioned Chevy and the Indianapolis 500 coming up, and how that's your pick. For some of the fans out there that maybe I cut you off or maybe not sure, what makes you in that Chevy camp for the 500? Is it just straight Penske, or is there something else that you're seeing and what you're hearing about the Chevy?
Well, I think a lot of folks in the paddock, myself included, believe that Penske, I don't know if you can call it sandbagging, but they were not showing all that they had. I don't think McLaren showed all that they had. I think there are some Chevy teams that were, for whatever reason, holding back. And you saw, you know, look at Takuma Sato. I don't think he was holding anything back, as evidenced by his big crash. I don't think there was that directive from the cars with the H on them. There seemed to be mixed results with the bow tie cars. As kind of, again, what have we noticed across this season? There's pretty unified messaging of what the Honda teams are and are not supposed to do, and the Chevy teams are all kind of on their own program. We saw like Juncos was pretty quick with Connor Daly. He was up there in the charts. Scott McLaughlin was up there, but he had Wickers and Strakes on his car. So I look at those sort of things and I say, huh, I wonder what would happen if they took the Wickers and Strakes off of the Penske cars. But we're not going to know what that looks like until 6 o'clock on, what is that, 2 Sundays from now?
Yeah. So a lot to still be determined as we get ready for the upcoming weekend and the Indianapolis 500 and what it looks like. We're going to have a bump, as we know. Too early predictions for that. I think we're all in the same agreement. It really depends on who wads it up. And we saw, you know, how much Marcus Ericsson last year flirted with not making the Indianapolis 500. And then obviously Nolan Siegel with his 2 incidents. You know, there's some people that we can maybe discuss next week. And we'll let you guys know the schedule for Unverified and what we're going to be looking at for practice week of the Indianapolis 500, which gets underway starting a week from today. But boys, no matter what, you know, we can bitch and complain all we want. There's positivity. It is the month of May. This is the 3 weeks, or the 2 weeks, so to speak, that we love the most. And I can't wait to be here on Unverified with you guys. I know the 3 of us are going to be content creating throughout the entire couple of weeks. Interviews, behind the scenes, opinion, and I can't wait to do it all with you guys here over the next couple of weeks.
This is May. Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, Tony, I know you and I and Kyle and a lot of us are all in the same boat. It's nonstop. I wake up and I think about the Indianapolis 500. I work on the Indianapolis 500. I go to bed and I think about the Indianapolis 500. It is constant this month. But I hope you guys are going to all enjoy all of our content that we're putting out this month. It's going to be, I can speak from what we're doing with my channel. There's some awesome stuff coming. I think everybody's going to really enjoy and appreciate. And yeah, I mean, this is what we all look forward to every year. And the fun gets going. I mean, I guess the fun has already started, but it really gets going on Friday, and it really, really gets going on next Tuesday.
Yeah, I know there's
anxiously waiting right now. David and I went and filmed some stuff today. Kind of felt like the first beginning. Obviously, like I said, it was weird being in Miami at Formula One and it was May. I was, you know, I was in the hotel thinking about the Indy 500. Don't you worry. And I'm excited to help David on his channel and obviously with this show and get everything started and make some damn content.
Saw some stuff on Twitter real quick before we wrap up the show. Some cool places to watch the GP. I always say if you're going out as a fan, one of the coolest things to do is just walk through the infield. There's a lot of different access. The mounds, obviously, in road course turn 1, and then you know, out towards the Holman Boulevard, there's some great places to watch that as well. I'm always going to encourage people to watch the ladder series as well. There's some drivers that I know that are involved in that are friends of mine that I've worked with or have gotten to know over the last couple of weeks. Marcus Ericsson said this to me. He said, you guys need to give a gold star away of best driver of the week. I think because Renus was standing there. So Renus will give to our gold star driver of the week for his performance on Sunday down at Barber Motorsports Park. But yeah, so many cool things. I have a sit-down one-on-one with Colin Ilott coming up on Thursday. We're going to see a really cool unveil of a livery coming up on Thursday, and it's here. Like and subscribe to Unverified. If you like David's 1995 hat or my 1990 shirt here, you can head to the shop's website, use Unverified15 for 15% off. They have a really cool Dan Weldon 20th anniversary Indianapolis 500 win shirt dropping coming up on Thursday. And I am just absolutely looking forward to Pacers and Racers here over the next couple of weeks.
I'm looking forward to a purple car in the Indy 500, and maybe that driver will get a gold star from me when it's unveiled. Who knows?
We shall see. I'll tell you what, and right on cue, that person just liked one of my tweets, ironically.
Yeah, he's probably watching, but
yeah.
Hi, Marcus.
Yep. So we'll crack a Michelob Ultra and a Michelob Ultra Zero with them here over the next couple of weeks, and have a great weekend. So are we all taking Alex Palou, or are we taking Christian Lundgaard?
Lundgaard.
Palou.
So I have to go against you guys, right? Or can I just agree with Kyle and take Lundgaard?
I mean, it depends. Give us what your gut says, and give us something to disagree with us on principle.
Well, again, Palou, until otherwise notice, as you've mentioned, David, it's very easy to pick him. I love Lundgaard going into the weekend. Is there anybody else? Can a Scott McLaughlin, can a Colton Herta, Pato O'Ward,
I've got one.
Knock him off, or somebody else that you're thinking of? Boris.
I've got a name. Boris is here. Who's cheering for Boris? I'll give you a name. Renus VK.
Yep.
Coin car has been fast in the past. Renus's best track potentially is the Indy GP. He is an IndyCar winner. Everybody forgets this. He won the GP and he beat a Dale Coin car to do it. Ed Carpenter Racing, maybe. Somebody from that team?
Who does Boris pick?
Boris.
Lundgaard.
Oh,
Lundgaard.
Boo.
I'll say this. Dead eyes from Boris. I'll say this. I talked to Renus today, and I said, you've been really good here. That coin car has been good here. People forget that I believe Grosjean had a pole, if not mistaken.
Grosjean finished second to him in that race.
To Renus, yeah. So we shall see. Can somebody like an Alexander Rossi, who has a win at the Indy GP, people forget that, even though I don't know if it was taken away from him or whatever the ruling ended up being on that, but can Rossi, somebody that Carpenter Racing, can he be in contention? And I think we're kind of waiting for Christian Rasmussen to take that step as well, find himself inside of the top 10. We saw Kiffin Simpson have a good run last weekend. We saw, or at least in qualifying, and I think he had a top 10. Was that at Long Beach?
Long Beach.
Yep. And so this new crop of drivers that we've seen coming over the last year and a half have started slowly, methodically, getting some good runs in.
Hey, here's another name for you. How about a dark horse of Rasmussen? How about a Connor Daly? He tested here, has run strongly at the Indy GP in the past. Juncos looked good at Long Beach. Why not?
We shall see. Even though, and maybe Devlin, as we mentioned,
Devlin
DeFrancesco. Where does this team stand?
Louis Foster.
Louis Foster, who did he win one of the two races last year on the road course at Indy Next? I believe he did. I believe Jacob Abel won the other race, if not mistaken. All right, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in here tonight. I know we pushed it back. We thought that would be good for the Pacers game, and then obviously ends up going. It ends up going all the way down on the wire. Boris looks like he needs some catnip. So we are going to call it a night here on Unverified. Thank you so much for watching. Awesome things coming up. Be sure to follow all of us on social media, including Kyle, David, and myself. We will make it happen for you over the next couple of weeks. Thank you for the support. Don't forget to check out the shop. 15% off, Unverified 15. And we'll be back with you next week, but we'll be with you all weekend long from the Indy GP.
And Boris will be cracking some Michelob Zeros open with me, because that's all the cats can drink. See you guys next week.
It's go time.